That bite is unreal. It's the hardest bite in bass fishing. And you can just manhandle them. Nice little guy to start the morning. Yeah, fired up. We're out here late summer, early fall. Started off the morning just doing a little offshore fishing off a point. First thing I reach for these days, usually especially up north, hard bottom offshore fishing's been, it's an Outcast chicken jig. It's a big oversized hair jig. And something that, you know, there's another one, ripped it off the grass and you got it. You know, it was kind of a ledge bait, you know, a Tennessee River ledge bait, and our fish don't really set up the same with the current and the ledge stuff, but oh, it come off, unreal. I usually lose too many on this. You know, this is a big Tennessee River bait, but they fished them a lot different. It was a lighter head with a lot less hair, and they fished it around the light line, like 12-pound test, and we started messing with them up north here. Kind of oversized them, bigger head, a lot more hair. Bait actually falls relatively slow for a 3/4 ounce bait, but it worked really well on these offshore fish, just like it does on the Tennessee River, just something most of the fish in the northern half of the country haven't seen a whole lot of. And it really catches a lot of big fish out of the school. And it's probably the most fun bite in fishing. Like when they bite it, it's absolutely no doubt. It feels like somebody hit your rod tip with a 2x4. As far as fishing it goes, I fish it just kind of like the guys do down south. Let it fall. Let it fall on a semi-tight line, bomb it out there, let it hit the bottom. Then I'm just cranking it up, you know, 4 or 5 turns of the handle and kind of pendulum swinging it. Pendulum swinging it back down to the bottom on a, you know, semi-tight line. But that was kind of a soft bite for this, but usually it's I mean, you can watch your rod tip bounce. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can kind of slow roll it near the bottom or kind of drag it like a Carolina rig, but typically when I'm fishing it, I'll make a cast, let it fall to the bottom, and then when I start my retrieve, I just kind of keep my rod at, I don't know, about 10 o'clock, and I'll just give it 4 or 5 good cranks up off the bottom, and then just tight line it, not really dropping it on slack, just holding my rod in place and kind of letting that bait pendulum swing back down to the bottom. It's just kind of a slow glide back down, but it moves a ton of water, you know, for not being a spinner bait or a crankbait or something like that. It just being hair, it's a really bulky bait. Like I said, when fishing on really oversized gears, the 8-foot flipping stick. I do braid to a leader. You can throw it on straight fluoro if you want, but either way, heavy line. It's a big hook. You can usually just gaff them, and I got this on 40-pound braid to a 20-pound leader. And it's definitely a school bait. This isn't something you're gonna go pick off onesie-twosie stuff with. It's something, seems like you kind of need a few of them looking at it to really get them going. Mostly, I think it's something these fish up here haven't really seen. And the other thing is I feel like anything else I throw in there, I'm just gonna get average bites. And I know I haven't caught anything great big yet, but it seems like when I get a bite on this, it's a 3+. So I'm kind of just targeting the biggest fish in the school. And you can probably do the same with a really big swim bait, but if you're just throwing your average 4 or 5 inch paddle tail, I think you're gonna kind of, it'll be like anything else finesse fishing, where you're just gonna have to weed through them to get some big ones. I'm not saying you can't catch a 5-pounder on a, oh my God, on a 3-inch net rig, but this really just kind of picks off the big ones out of the school mostly. Then I can just, I mean, they bite and it's over, you know what I mean? Just like that, just wrench them in, flip them in the boat. Hey, settle down, bud. Flip them in the boat, not play with them. Not a great big one, but nice fish, fun bite. Yeah, and I'll sit a ways off these places, make a really long cast. It's a heavy jig, 3/4 ounce jig, 8-foot rod. I can throw it as far as I want, let it fall all the way to the bottom on slack line, and then, you know, just 3 or 4 handle turns, keeping the rod up and just letting that bait See that right there? You can see the rod jump when he bites it. I know guys that like throwing it on 20-pound line, but I like the braid just because it's, I don't have to, when I'm keeping, that's kind of ugly one, but when I'm keeping my rod tip up like that, you know, I'm kind of out of position. You're not really going to be able to reel down, clear the slack, and set the hook. So I really like the braid where I'm already here. I can just, right here, I got them, you know. I don't have to have a big giant hook set. I don't know, it's not like a worm or a jig where there's some soft plastic chewy stuff there. It's they don't seem to hold on to it very long, but the nice thing is if they miss it, or if you miss them, usually the next swing down to the bottom, he'll get it again. They kind of stay with it, so it's not really a big deal if you miss them, but yeah, they definitely don't hang on to it too terribly long. I'd rather start out deep and work my way shallow than start shallow and go deep. Plus these fish out here bite really good in the morning. Just a pretty classic summertime spot, main lake point, grass on the shallower end of it, hard bottom out on the deeper end of it. Usually where those two meet's kind of the key spot, but the grass isn't real deep on this lake, so there's probably gonna be some fish out past them on. Oh, did you see that bite? That one feels a little better. Usually if you gotta stop reeling, they're pretty big, but I don't know. This one feels pretty good. Decent enough. The southern hair jigs are real thin. Just a little bit of bucktail and a couple chicken feathers. And this one's super bulky. It's got a ton of synthetic in it. It's still got the bucktail around the edge. And the chicken feathers, I think, are kind of the deal. It kind of gives a tail to the bait, but I mean, for a 3/4 ounce jig, it falls, I mean, maybe like a quarter or a 3/8 ounce jig. It's pretty slow, especially when you're tight lining it. That's gonna slow it down even more, but like I said, it's just kind of a little adapted Tennessee River ledge bait for fishing up here. And I think they like the bigger ones up here. They're mostly eating bluegills. I know we're throwing white, but there's some crappies out here too. And only about 2 colors I throw. There's a bluegill one and a white one, and believe it or not, I usually do better on the white one, even though our fish are primarily feeding on bluegills. Why I like to start deep and fish shallow, I just prefer fishing shallow midday. You know, you get the sun up, start getting some shadows, those fish are really gonna suck into cover. I mean, you could go down this bank with, you know, a top water or something and definitely get some bites, but I like it better in the afternoon. I can see what's going on up there. If the water's clear, there's some sight fishing potential, and you know, once the sun gets up, it really just kind of locks them into all the best targets versus them kind of just scattered out, cruising around down the bank, you know. If it gets up, sun gets good up and high, they're gonna tuck into them little grass mats and tight to the wood or the docks or whatever it may be, or even just a shade line on a bank. And when you go up there in the morning, they could be kind of anywhere, and I think you go by a lot of fish without catching them if you're up there early in the morning. And I feel like a deep spot like this, they're probably gonna bite best right away in the morning. They're not really factoring in on shade or anything like that. They're kind of out deep, and I think they obviously feed pretty well in the morning. And I don't think I'm missing anything by starting here versus up shallow. You know, you go by a bank, one of them fish might be sitting underneath your boat right away in the morning, and then, you know, you go up there 10, 11 o'clock when the sun gets up good, and I don't think you're gonna be driving over any, you know what I mean? I think they're gonna be kind of tucked in the cover and a little more predictable where your bites are gonna come from. Usually if you go a few casts without getting one, it's pretty well done. It's kind of an on-off switch on this bait too. It'll fire really good right away, or right when you start throwing it, and it seems like as soon as it stops, it's done, but that's a good time to pick something else up, you know. Crankbait or a Nico rig or a Ned rig. Those are kind of, especially the Nico and the Ned and the drop shot and stuff like that. That's a lot better bait to just sit and kind of grind on a school with. Where this is something, this is like my first 10 casts is gonna be with this into the school. I like staying off them. Pretty light wind this morning. If you got any wind, I'll spot lock downwind of these places. I got a big heavy bait I can throw a long ways into the wind and stay off them and catch them. And I will come off spot lock a little bit more now with the live unit. If I'm sitting there for a little bit and not getting bit, I'll come off spot lock, kind of scan around, see if those fish have moved to, you know, maybe slid up and down the point a little bit, and use that to relocate them, and then, you know, get a good line up with my trolling motor on where I saw the fish, and then spot lock again and keep throwing at them until I don't get bit. And if I quit getting bit, I'll scan around, line up on them again, hit spot lock, and kind of repeat the process. The wind's so light this morning, I don't really need the spot lock, but usually it's not this calm. Cool. That's a big one. Ripped it off some grass and smashed it. I think it's a big one. Pulling pretty good. Oh yeah. Better. Big head. Usually you don't hook them that deep. Usually it's kind of in the lip, but that one got it really good. Nice bass.